Let us join back. Dear participants, may I have your attention, please? We have today with us Professor Mini Nanda from University of Rajasthan, and we are soon going to start with her. Before we request her for his talk, let me read a brief biodata for her. Professor Mini Nanda taught in Department of English, University of Rajasthan, Jaipur, India, where she was head and member of University Senate, March 2014 to 17. She has teaching experience in the University of Rajasthan for 37 years. She has been chief editor of RUSE, the departmental journal indexed in MLA, and has been a member of University Academic Council from 2017 to 16. She was coordinator of University of Academic Activities, director for Center of Women Studies, coordinator for Board of Studies in English for 2 terms from 2009 to 2014. Dr. Nanda has supervised 25 MPhil dissertations and guided 10 PhD theses in diverse areas. She has been coordinator of University School for Marginalized Children, Bal Niketan, and coordinator of RUSA, Rashtriya Uchta Shiksha Abhiyan projects in humanities. She coordinated, taught and designed courses for Gulf India and Minnesota India program on India writing in English. She coordinated a Sahitya Academy workshop on translation with participants from 6 languages and edited manuscripts submitted to Sahitya Academy November 17. She has been invited as a resource person to conferences in India, Hyderabad University, Rohtak University, Joodhpur University, Vishwa Bharati University, Forum for Contemporary Thought conferences in Udaipur, Goa, Cuttack, and so on. She was also invited as a resource person to East Brunswick, Moncton University, Canada, York University, Toronto, Tenerife Island, Spain, Comparative Literature Conference to Sorbonne University, Paris, and IGS Conference in Prague, Czechoslovakia. She was invited to deliver the keynote address at Interdisciplinary Conference in Washington University, Melbourne, in June 2017. Her areas of interest and publications include over 40 papers in the field of cultural studies, film studies, women's writing, Indian literature, South Asian, Canadian, Caribbean, and Latin American literatures. She has co-edited a book on literary construct of self, featuring eminent writers and scholars from India and abroad. We are all now eager to listen to Professor Mini Nanda. Madam, please. Please, madam.
Yeah, am I audible?
हाँ, आप audible हैं. आपके शायद एक दो speaker तो नहीं है, madam.
There's a lot of echo. There's a lot of echo in the background. Can the participants hear me? Professor Salue, do I begin?
हाँ मैडम, now you can start. I think echo will be less now. मैडम आपके दो लॉगिन आ रहे हैं मैडम आपके.
Is it better now?
हाँ एक मिनट मैडम.
Should I join again?
Madam, may we request you one thing? You have joined at two logins, madam. एक login से आप log out कर जाइए. हाँ, this is very much okay, madam.
Better. That's good. This now no echo. Is it okay now?
हाँ, this is far better, madam. Please carry on, madam. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll begin my lecture now on research methodology.
नहीं मैडम आप start कर सकते हैं मैडम. Please
Yeah.
carry on.
So good evening, everybody. I'm sorry for this kind of a disturbance, but that is technology which we cannot help. And I want to thank the organizers for giving me this chance to be with you and to speak on this very essential, fundamental idea of research methodology. So what is research? Research refers to a search for knowledge. It is a scientific and systematic search for pertinent information on a specific topic. Research is an art of scientific investigation. The Advanced Learner's Dictionary of Current English defines research as a careful investigation or inquiry, especially through search for new facts in any branch of knowledge. So we're talking of research in any area, in any faculty, in any discipline. It is a careful investigation or inquiry. Redman and Murray define research as a systematic effort to gain new knowledge. It is a movement from the known to the unknown. What is research? Research is a voyage. It is a voyage of discovery. Our national curiosity makes us question the unknown to understand it better. So human beings are curious by nature, and they seek the unknown, the different, the unheard. So our natural curiosity makes us question the unknown to understand it better. This curiosity or inquisitiveness is the mother or the generator of new knowledge, and the method employed to obtain it is termed as research. Research is an academic activity. According to Clifford Goody, research comprises defining and redefining problems, formulating hypotheses or suggested solutions, collecting and organizing data, evaluating data, making deductions and reaching conclusions, and lastly, carefully testing the conclusions to determine whether to accept or to reject the hypothesis. Research is also a relooking. a reseeking at the existing knowledge in a new and creative way, so as to generate new concepts, methodologies, and understanding. This could also include a synthesis and analysis of previous research to the extent that it leads to new and creative outcomes. What is important for you is to recognize your theme. Play with the title, play with the theme, and it will lead to new strategies into that research. Don't take research as a burden. Do not take it as something that is going to make you sad. Research should make you feel enthusiastic. You must feel happy about what you're going to seek and find. So play with your theme, it will lead to new strategies. In a research, in any discipline, art, science, commerce, law, medicine, any discipline, an overview is very important. For example, in literature, a literary review of what has been written in the past must be documented and analyzed to point out at the way your own research will be different. Moving from this blank, what do you expect to do? This is a blank. This is the research that is already done. It is documented. It is there in my review. What do I plan to do from here? How do I move from here? There, the hypothesis becomes very important. A literature review is a systematic way of collecting and synthesizing previous research. By integrating findings and perspectives from many empirical findings, a literature review can address research questions with a power that no single study has. So your review in whatever discipline, the literary review is very important. Research, very importantly then, is an original contribution to the existing stock of knowledge, adding to its advance. We're going to advance that already existing pool of knowledge. There are different objectives in different disciplines. I'm going to outline the main ones. The main objective will be of a research to discover answers to questions through the application of scientific procedures, to gain insights into a truth hitherto hidden. Exploratory or formulative research, the objective of this study is to give familiarity with a phenomenon or to achieve new insights into a phenomenon. Descriptive research is also very important. Descriptive research is used to portray accurately the characters of an individual, situation, or groups using survey methods of all kinds. Diagnostic research. It is used to discover the frequency with which something occurs or is associated with, involving case study methods, and deep probing data gathering devices. So it's a very pointed and a very deep study of data to understand how phenomenon occurs. Hypothesis testing research. This is used to study the causal relationships between variables. Applied research. Applied research aims to find solution to an immediate problem, social, political, or economic trend. Fundamental research. It is basic or pure research concerning some natural phenomenon or pure mathematics. Fundamental research includes studies into human behavior carried out to make generalizations is also fundamental research. Quantitative research. This is based on the measurement of quantity or amount. This is applied to phenomena that can be expressed in quantity, in numbers. Qualitative research. Qualitative research happens when we are interested in quality or kind. Why do people behave in a certain manner? Also known as motivation research. To find the underlying motives, needs of certain human behavior. When we are looking into human behavior, we can have a collaboration also. Many times, this would need guidance from experimental psychology. That is your motivational or qualitative research. Now we come to conceptual research, which deals with concepts, abstract ideas, or theory, generally used by philosophers and thinkers to develop new concepts or reinterpret existing ones. I shall talk more about it later. Empirical research. Empirical research is based on experience or observation. Researcher relies on data to arrive at conclusions which are verified by observation or experiment. Empirical research is also experimental research. Works on a hypothesis and observes facts to prove or disprove the hypothesis. There are time-bound research. There is one-time research in a single time frame. Other longitudinal research, where several time periods are involved. Historical research. This involves historical resources like monuments, remains, archives, documents to study events or ideas of the past. Karl Popper, Austrian-born British philosopher Karl Popper of the 20th century, his idea, his concept of null hypothesis is very important. So Popper's null hypothesis of falsification methodology holds that scientific theories are characterized by containing predictions that future observations might reveal to be false. I'll read that again. Popper's null hypothesis of falsification methodology holds that scientific theories are characterized by entailing predictions that future observations may reveal to be false. Popper is notable for his work on probability and quantum mechanics and on methodology of the social sciences. With respect to the social sciences, Popper argued the historical attempt to formulate universal laws covering the whole of human history, and instead he argued in favor of methodological individualism and situational logic. His early work in philosophy focuses on demarcation. Karl Popper is very important for falsification or null hypothesis and demarcation, this division. The problem of this distinguishing scientific or empirical theories from non-scientific theories, he aims to capture the logic or methodological difference between scientific disciplines such as physics and non-scientific disciplines like philosophical mathematics, philosophical metaphysics, Freudian psychoanalysis, and Marxist social criticism. When we go back to antiquity, to the ancient times, in Greece, you have the Socratic method of Elenchus, 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 the Socratic method of deriving truth by question and answer, especially as used to refute an argument. The modern Socratic method is a process of questioning which is used effectively to lead a person to knowledge. Socrates and his student Plato. Plato, in his dialogue, his work Dialogue is a form of philosophical conversation between people, between one person and another person. Plato uses analogies to define his point. Plato is a utopian. He is not interested in describing things as they are. In a utopian, he relies on the ideal. He depends on the discovery of the ideal. Arrive at the ideal through comparison and criticism, analogy. Plato was a mathematician. The gateway of his academy has the epigraph, forbidding epigraph. Let no one devoid of interest in mathematics enter here. So he is excluding people who are not interested in numbers, in mathematics. Let no one devoid of interest in mathematics enter here. He had an interest in numbers, which are fixed and static. Aristotle studied, on the other hand, Plato's student, Aristotle, he studied biology. Of course, Aristotle was also a polymath. He studied biology amongst other things, and his universe involves growth. It is dynamic, it is not static. Plato was a master artist of words, which Aristotle did not use. He did not use metaphors, but rational explanation. Aristotle's approach was empirical. He had an inductive and historic temper, and he said that we must have a respect for tradition. Now, a very important word in research, in pedagogy, is dialectics. Dialectics is a term used to describe a method of philosophical argument. Plato presented his arguments as dialectics, back and forth between Socrates and his interlocutors. Dialogue, debate, argument is a sure method to arrive at the truth. Hegel, the philosopher, Hegel's dialectics are contradictory process between opposing sides, leading to the soul of scientific progression. You move to the most sane argument through a dialogue. Some major features of Aristotle's methodology are inductive and deductive. Plato's method of investigation is more deductive. Aristotle's is more inductive. Aristotle's Nicomachean ethics contains ideals of normative thinking and ethical life. Like Plato, Aristotle does conceive a good life. A good life, deductive thinking. But he builds it on the inductive approach about the state. As what does he say for a state? Aristotle, state as a union of families and villages which come into existence to satisfy the material needs of man. Aristotle's inductive style compels him to classify states, and he observes them but he never loses sight of the best state he imagined. Historical and comparative research. Considering history as a key to all the secrets, Aristotle takes the study of the past. Remember, Aristotle said you have to study and respect the tradition. So Aristotle takes the study of the past to understand the present. He also follows the comparative method of study. For classification of states, Aristotle did an intensive study of 158 constitutions of his time. To these comparisons, he spoke of the pure and the perverted form of state. The pure, the good, the perverted is the bad state. But he based this on a very, very extensive study of 158 constitutions. Another method of Aristotle is teleological and analogical. Teleos is end. Okay. So Aristotle used the teleological and analogical method for analyzing and investigating political phenomena. Nature, according to Aristotle, did everything with a purpose. You can see today, in our times, in the pandemic, how we have shown arrogance and disdain to ecology, to the nature that surrounds us. The consequence that nature is flourishing today. The birds are free. The mammals and the dolphins are free in the seas. And we humans, we are behind the cages. We are indoors. So nature, according to Aristotle, did everything with a purpose. Man lives in society to attain his development, and the state helps man to achieve this end. Following his teacher Plato, Aristotle found much in common between a ruler and an artist, between a statesman and a physician. Analogical research. Then there is the analytical and observational research. Aristotle's methodology was both analytical and observational. In all his thought processes, he observed and studied data and facts. Now we can turn our eyes a little away from politics to from philosophy, sciences, and politics to research in art in the field of painting, visual art, drawing, and painting, music, dance. So, research in art. What is art? Art is a language that has to be learned like any other language, like French or Russian or French or Spanish. There are common analytical approaches to art. What are these approaches? Formal analysis, historiography. Remember Picasso, the Spanish painter? His Guernica. It is a very important, one of the most important historical paintings of Picasso, which he painted after the Spanish War in 1937. His most powerful painting in history, and it is there today in the museum in Madrid, Spain. So you have, in art, you have formal analysis, you have historiography. When you take a slice of history and you depict it, then there is cultural inquiry and embodied response. I would like to share a few snippets from the lives of artists. Gauguin, Gauguin, Gauguin was a symbolist French painter. He exiled himself from France, from Paris, and lived in Tahiti, the French Polynesia. Gauguin identified with the tribals and rejected the bourgeois of Paris, France. The forest and the tribals for Gauguin were paradise. They were his place which he inhabited and painted. He painted them and paved the way for primitivism and a return to the pastoral. Remember what Wordsworth has said? Go back to nature. So Gauguin in his paintings, where he is in the French Polynesia, Tahiti, he is rejecting the sophisticated bourgeois class of Paris and living with the tribals, following their tradition and customs and painting them. Look at it. See, you have access to the internet to all these paintings. Look at the paintings of Gauguin, where the tribals and the forest are the subjects. At the same time, Renoir, 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 on the other hand, paints the bourgeois of France. Gauguin and Renoir were contemporaries, but their field of study, their area of art and presentation was so different. One is looking at society and its people, and the other is looking at nature and the other natural indigenous inhabitants. See, I spoke about embodied response. When I talk of Gauguin, there's a very important novel by Thomas Edmond, Moon and Sixpence. Thomas Edmond's Moon and Sixpence is based on the life of Gauguin. It's an embodied response to an artist and his life. So moving from France, we go to Russia. The Russian artist, Vasily Kandinsky, 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 considered the Russian father of pure abstract art. Vasily Kandinsky had the unique gift of synesthesia, 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 meaning where two senses work simultaneously. They work together. How? Kandinsky saw colors and heard sounds at the same time. So he could see and hear at the same time. Color was a sound for him also. Synesthesia, when two senses work together. We also have new research which is in crossing boundaries and borders. There is research on alternate faiths, different faiths, not the mainstream faith. Where are these alternate faiths located? Why are they not documented and mentioned anywhere? We need to study them. We need to see the people and what and how they worship and why. Remember the kind of questioning that we have to do? Elincus questioning. Dana Baba in Rajasthan is worshipped for food in some of the villages. There are snakes and scorpions are worshipped as deities to ask them for protection. Khetpalji is worshipped for the protection of the fields by the farmers. We see this today in India, this whole protest against the bill that has been passed. We don't know whether it is going to help the farmer or is it there for the farmer? Is it going to help him? So farmers have their own deities also in the villages in Rajasthan. There is Dana Baba, there is Khetrapalji. For such localized research, what do you have to do? You have to have a broad framework in mind. Analyze and study religion and location. There is also ethnographical research and ecology sustaining research. All research, I feel, should help the community. It should promote to save the environment, the society, and most of all, human beings. Moving from philosophy, moving from politics to arts, we now move to science, zoology. In zoology, animal behavior is studied and its conjunction and impact on human behavior and ecology. Conrad Zacharias Lorenz. Conrad Zacharias Lorenz is an Austrian zoologist. He shared the Nobel Prize in 1973. Lorenz, 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 Austrian. He is regarded as one of the founders of modern ethology. 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 Ethology is the study of animal behavior. So Conrad Zacharias Lorenz said, and I quote, truth in science can be defined as the working hypothetics best suited to open the way to the next better one. Remember how they've said that truth can be perceived as something else later on, null hypothesis. So truth in science can be defined as the working hypothesis, best suited to open the way for the next better one. There are 3 research institutions named after Conrad Zacharias Lorenz in Austria. Another important activist of our time, Jane Goodall. He's been working since 1957 at the Gombe National Park, Tanzania, studying chimpanzees. Today, friends, is a very important day. 21st September is a day of gratitude, and the UN has declared it as International Peace Day. So let's all get together and work for peace. And as Buddha said, it begins with us, with our thoughts. So today, on 21st September, World Peace Day, Jane Goodall is the UN messenger for peace. And she has given a beautiful, you can go to her site and see the message that she has given for world peace. International Peace Day, shape peace together. She says, let us come together, all the people, and shape peace together. It's also, I think, a good theme for research. How we can all come together to shape peace together. Some interesting facts that come from research on ecology or animal behavior I want to share with you. In Rajasthan, there is the Sambar Lake, where the flamingos come in winter. They migrate here. There's a very interesting study done in Gujarat. The lesser flamingo, it's a breed, the lesser flamingo. Lesser flamingo is a non-migratory bird, but because of the climate change, water loss, and habitat degradation, the lesser flamingos are now migrating and have been migrating for the past 5 to 6 years to Porbandar in Gujarat. See how we are connecting peace with Porbandar and Gandhiji's birthplace? So the lesser flamingos, generally non-migratory birds, have pushed these water loss and habitat degradation has pushed them to travel almost 600 kilometers per night. They are now they are now a threatened species, lesser flamingos. You remember with the beautiful long necks and the pink color? Anurag Hatu is a researcher and wildlife photographer. Times of India had an article on him just 2 days back. Anurag Bhatu is a researcher and wildlife photographer. He has been studying them, the lesser flamingos, for the last 5 years. And their graceful dance movements, their behavior habitats, their habitats, foraging activity, etc. at Porbandar, Gujarat. He hopes to conserve these species. And he gets up, Anurag Bhatu says many times he gets up before sunrise and he crawls to the marshland to pick up his apparatus, his camera, so as not to disturb but to capture the activity of the lesser flamingo. He says their graceful dance movements, their behavior, habitats, and foraging activities he has been observing for the last 5 years and hopes to conserve these species to migrate from October to June in the wetlands of the port city and birthplace of the father of the nation, Gandhi. So these were some of the points I wanted to give you about research in science. But the underlying point is a relook, a search for truth, it's a voyage, it's a journey, it's ups and downs. As I said, take it as a very enjoyable play. Take it as something, as a learning exercise, and come up with something new. Come up with something worthwhile. Worthwhile that is going to add to the community, that's going to conserve the environment, and that's going to shape peace in the world. So when we come into the realm of philosophy, a very important philosopher of the later part of the 20th century I want to discuss, and we had the good fortune of having him in our University of Rajasthan in the philosophy department, Professor Dayakrishna. We used to call him Dayaji out of respect and regard. A very esteemed and revered figure all over the world. Dayakrishna ji, an iconic 20th century philosopher, has given us some strategies for conceptual creativity. Remember, we're talking about concepts. How can we become creative with concepts? Conceptual creativity, which is fundamental to research to make it fresh and worthwhile. For that, for conceptual creativity, Dayaji says we have to reach back. We have to have an unmediated access to the past, to the root text. Here, Dayaji is again very innovative and startling in his ideas. He's saying go to the text without the burden of the secondary text. Have a look at the original text and come with your own original response. Because he says to question the text, you don't have to hold it reverentially, not to accept it thoroughly, and also not to accept it through secondary text, but to create your own meaning. That is a conceptual creativity. When a text, and that is also the beauty of the text, that you go to it and you can create your own meaning. To revive the Navya Nyaya, Navya Nyaya, and other scholastic traditions of debate and dialectic. Remember, we've been talking about debate, questioning, dialectic. Krishnaji was skeptical about the hierarchical Guru Shishya Parampara. Another very important thing we need to think about. In the past, it was there. That's what we have to go back to the past and analyze it critically. Do we need it now in the present? Dayaji was highly critical of the Guru Shishya Parampara, a stronghold of textual traditional groupism. Also, he didn't like this textual traditional groupism, which stymies all creativity. What you need is to look at the text again. A fresh interpretation could go beyond all limits of mere exposition. And there he said that you have to be confident that, in principle, every human being is capable of original thinking. I think the very essence of research is originality, creativity. So every individual, according to him, if you break those chains of, system and past, and some texts are very sacred, you can't question. It is then that you can come back to your own original meaning. Engagement with the past, to be fearless about discovering inconsistencies or mistakes. Don't be afraid to look at the gaps, inconsistencies in the text or the mistakes. We're not looking for mistakes, but if we find them, we must talk about them. To ask a question and disrupt the closed circle of accepted knowledge. Let the circle of knowledge not be closed and exclusive. Let it be open, show you another vista, to open a window to another perspective, and to open a new vista for thought. Very important. To ask a question and disrupt. Professor Dayaji is saying this in contrary thinking. To disrupt the closed circle of accepted knowledge and to open a new vista for thought. This, I think, is the essence of research. Dayaji also promotes the fact that one can have an imaginary dialogue with the most important text of the past. Have a dialogue, question it, analyze it. Playful argumentativeness is very important. Playful argumentation. Remember Amartya Sen, he gave us the book Argumentative Indian. Very important. When we began about research, we began with curiosity, inquisitiveness, questioning, seeking, discovering. So playful argumentativeness is very important. How, when people gather together in your academies, and now in these pandemic times through the internet, thanks to technology, we are gathering together. There are a whole lot of thoughts and perspectives for you. See how something new can emerge from it. For playful argumentations, when people gather together, something new emerges. It is in dialogue that Dayaji says the realm of between emerges, realm of between. Heavenly new cognitive desires come to be in that realm. That realm of between is highly fertile, rich, and from there something new can emerge. No single individual can realize his or her creative potential without engaging in real samvad with unlike minds. You see, research, when you do your work, it cannot be completely in isolation. You have to have a samvad, a dialogue. You have to have the playful argumentation. You have to have a chat with your friends and see what they have to say. And not necessarily from your own discipline. They can be people from different faculties, different disciplines. So enriching. Daya Krishna, in his article, Thinking versus Thought, says, and I quote, when people get together, something new emerges. Unquote. That is the whole point of samvad. That is the whole point of getting together, not with your own people from your own discipline, but be open to other thoughts, other people, other ways of inquiry. Now, the very important point about research, which I want to stress here. We've spoken about originality, freshness, creativity, discovery of new truth. But dear friends, scholars, colleagues, ethical approach is very important in research. Our methodology and content has to be one's own. Plagiarism, hateful word, more hateful practice. Plagiarism is a scourge, a curse of academics. The second-rate research. We are looking for fresh original idea. We have to have full documentation, acknowledgement of all our sources diligently. So even inadvertently, we have to avoid plagiarism. So, dear scholars, always have your complete documentation. Acknowledge your sources. Research is a very important pillar of respect and dignity. It's not the last. It is the first and the beginning, as I said, it's the plank from where you take off. So let that research be true and flawless because it defines you. And research, as you all know, is not the end. It is a beginning. You see, now our scholars in the final chapter, they have to point out to the other directions that this theme can take. What other research remains to be done on this area? So now we even have to say the kind of openings that this theme, this research can lead to. So let that research be your original work because it is collected so diligently, written so clearly, it defines you. Your Kant's idea of ethics becomes very important. Immanuel Kant. He has given us the idea to treat each individual as an end in him or herself. In life, because the world is also a text, to treat each individual, Immanuel Kant says, as an end, not a means to an end. And when you live like that, when you treat each individual with dignity as a human being, remember what Nelson Mandela has also said that the world is made up of the wise and the foolish. And it is for the foolish that the world is divided on the lines of race and gender and class and color. So to be wise, we know that we are one world. We know that we have to design the peace in that world. And as Kant says, we have to treat each individual with dignity, with respect, with honor. Remember from the Bible, do unto others as you would they have do unto you. So to treat, Kant says, each individual as an end, not a means to an end, is to live in a kingdom of ends. Immanuel Kant's moral philosophy is the kingdom of ends. And yes, it is also the moral philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi, where he says the means have to justify the end. The means of your research have to be ethical and fair and just. This maxim of kingdom of ends has influenced many philosophers and legislators and the constitutions of many countries. And this kingdom of ends has also influenced the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So on this day, 21st September, the day of International Day of Peace, let's all join together to design peace within our lives, and then the ripples will follow. And the kingdom of end could be realized through our means. So, in your research, I would like to emphasize again do not take it as a burden. Do not be saddened by that burden. Take it as a journey, a playful journey of ideas, of search, of examination, analysis, and have good conversations with your supervisor. And here I'm also emphasizing the role of the mentor. mentors who help you with your strengths, the mentors who help you with your professional goals, supervisor, the mentors, the community of friends, families. A researcher needs all their support, all their help. I wish you all the very best in all your ventures. Stay safe in the pandemic. Good evening. Thank you. And now the talk is open for any questions that you may have, observations, your own queries. I'm open to all your queries now.
Uh, Ma'am, thanks for the insightful talk. Hello.
Yeah,
Ma'am, there's one question from Tejaswini Patra.
yeah,
She's asked for a brief detail on analogy.
yeah. You see, it's a very important point where I'm talking about analogical aspect in Aristotle. You see, if something is happening in one country, we cannot transfer all that to our country. So your research has to be situational specific. You see, for example, I mentioned the wetlands, the Sambar Lake in Rajasthan or in Porbandar. How and why are the migratory birds coming? They were not migratory. So what is happening there now? What was happening in the past and what is happening in the present? The kind of comparative analysis. You see, any research, when you bring in comparison, it brings in a greater depth of understanding. You go to the past and understand the present. You cannot take the whole past into toto, but you take the essence of that past history, of that past behavior, past location, past historical facts, or literary review. All that has been done. And then how you can do something in your own field differently, in your own area differently. That's a good question.
Ma'am, there's another question from Vidya Sagar Kumar.
Yeah.
How can we redesign philosophy of sciences as well as research methodology according to different paradigms of research?
You see, the design has to be, it can be a combination of different, methodologies. It cannot be just one or two methodologies. You can follow different methods. This will be, in conjunction with your theme. What kind of a theme? If you're taking a historical theme, then you have to take in, so much of detail of the past, the monuments, the archives, and have a good broad framework in mind and also clear-cut chapterization. How you're going to go from point A to point B. For that, your theme must be very well defined. So when I said initially, play with your theme, meaning keep on writing different themes. And the one that defines your interest, your area of study, pick that from all the other titles. So have a lot of titles and take a theme that fits in with your area of interest, your area of research, and the methodology will be the kind of approach you want. You want to compare between the philosophers? Do you want to compare between the two texts? You want to compare between, two ages? So your chapterization is going to give you a clear-cut idea. First the theme, then the chapterization of what you want to look at and how you're going to look at. See, for research to be interesting, it has to be much more than descriptive. Contextualize it. Contextualize the past in the present, the tradition in the modern. Okay? Yeah.
Ma'am, there's another question from Hidayatullah Muhammad Ismail.
Yeah.
He's asking, how important is it to write a review article based on the area we choose? Means, is it necessary to write a review article first before going for writing a manuscript?
Absolutely. It's a very important question, and I had said it in my talk. I'm happy it's come up again. You see, your very first chapter will have background and review. Background of the theme, the philosophers, literatures, zoologists, whatever you're doing. And whatever your area of study, art, science, law, you have to do a review in the first. Yes. Before the manuscript moves, you have to say, you see, that's what we said about the scientific approach, that this much study has been done. This is documented. These are the texts. That's also going to enhance your bibliography. Not to talk of the knowledge that it is going to enhance. So this much work has already been done. And I'm going to move from here to the next step. What has been done is different. I'm going to take another route. I'm going to take another way. My perception is going to be different because we have to also justify how our research is going to be different from what is already there in the corpus. So review of literature is absolutely fundamental to the writing of a research thesis. It has to be there in the very first chapter and very thorough. It has to be extremely thorough. All the work that has been done has to be documented in your research. That this writer says this is done, but I am going to take it forward. My study is going to be different. Yeah. Yes. Any other question? Any other question?
How do we appreciate research in Indian society?
How do we appreciate?
Actually, ma'am, there are many questions which are coming up.
Yeah.
Probably will pass on those questions to you later on.
No, you can just one or two I can take right now. I don't mind. Indian society, so many aspects of Indian society. It need to be studied. Ethnography.
There's another question. What is the best literature review tool? I don't believe there's any
Tool would be, I would say, descriptive. In literature review, descriptive and analytical. That these are the descriptive. Why? Because the chronology has to be there. This is the work that has been done chronologically. Descriptive, because you have to describe what has been earlier said, what has been studied earlier, and then analyze, examine, and then move ahead. So Descriptive and analytical would be a good approach to review of literature. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you, madam. Uh, there, there are no other questions from the
Okay.
participants.
Okay.
Your valuable knowledge has been learned by many of the participants. So,
Okay.
so we will now be moving on to the next session. So
Okay. Thank
the
you.
next session will, yeah, thank you, madam. So the next session will be starting in 5 minutes. There's a 5-minute break. So it will be a session from Dr. C.P. Ravi Kumar, the Technical Director at Texas Instruments. Thank you. Please be online.